So check this out. Michelin chef Joël Robuchon.
Joël Robuchon.
Robuchon.
Joël Robuchon.
Robuchon.
Chef Robuchon.
Robuchon. Anyway, this guy, who was a world-renowned chef, published a famous mashed potato recipe with a potato to butter ratio of 4:1. So for every 4 pounds of potatoes you add, you're supposed to add 1 pound of butter. But there are some reports that say in his restaurants, the ratio go all the way up to 2:1. There are even some stories about restaurants going higher than that, using even more butter than potatoes in their mash. Now, I have to wonder, where is the line? When does adding butter to mashed potatoes turn from the ultimate flavor enhancer to just an unappetizing, greasy mess? With Thanksgiving just around the corner, I want to know how much is too much, and that is what we're going to find out today. Let's go.
Let's start with our potatoes. I'm going with russets because they have the most starch of the varieties that are readily available in most grocery stores. The starch should help the potatoes stand up to the extra moisture we're introducing to them. Remember, butter is 16% water. So we'll boil these in heavily salted water, unpeeled, since the peel will also help to keep the potato from absorbing water while they're cooking. These will be ready when a knife can easily pass through the potato with little to no resistance, at which point we'll immediately remove them from heat, drain them, and get them riced. The reason I'm ricing these instead of just using an old-fashioned potato masher is twofold. First, I'm lazy, and the ricer will essentially peel the hot, boiled potato for us. You can see this method isn't perfect, so if you're going for ultra smooth palm puree, you want to actually peel these before ricing, but this works for the purposes of our test. Second, if these potatoes are really well broken up, they should theoretically be able to handle more butter. So I'm ricing like my life depends on it. See how fluffy these are? That is the texture you would expect from a russet. Before we move on to the next phase of our test, I want to talk about something we're all excited about: food math. In bread baking recipes, the dough hydration is the ratio of water to flour. Instead of using actual ratios, bakers use a percentage as a shorthand. But the percentage doesn't actually work the same way that normal percentages work. For example, when we talk about a dough that is 70% hydration, that means they added 70% of the flour's weight in water. So 1,000 grams of flour and 800 grams of water would make a dough with 80% hydration, even though the dough is only made of about 44% water. I'm going to use this shorthand for these different tests. So when I'm talking about a 50% butter mixture, I mean that I added 50% of the weight of the potatoes in butter. 100% would mean an equal amount of potato and butter, and so on. Now I'm portioning these potatoes with equal weights in each bowl and adding the butter. The tests we're doing will range from 25% to 150% butter in 25% increments. By the time I got to the 150% butter, I added more than a stick to a very small amount of potatoes, 100 grams. The only other thing I'm adding is a quarter teaspoon of salt to each bowl, so no other factors are affecting the taste. The 25% butter mixture was already pretty rich. Even though this is the smallest amount we're testing today, most people don't use this much butter at home. You can see that it still had a pretty fluffy texture and it tasted great. The 50% was very good. Huge improvement over the 25%. You can see the potato is still pretty solid. I really enjoyed this one. At 75%, the flavor was different, but it wasn't markedly improved. The texture was pretty creamy, like what I would expect if I had less butter and added some milk, which is what a lot of people do, but of course, this was all butter. At 100%, which is equal amount butter and potato, is where the flavor started to go down a bit. It was still fine, like it tasted okay, but this was the point where less butter would have actually improved the dish. The texture was a little loose, but still okay. You'll also notice that this is the point where my flavor saver picked up a little stowaway. Sorry about that, I really need to get a mirror in the studio. 125% was just too much. The flavor of the potatoes was so overpowered by the butter, the texture was weird, and the mouthfeel was gritty since the potato particles were so diluted by the butter. 150% was a non-starter. I could only muster a little bite, and after that, I had to tap out. This just felt and tasted like eating straight butter. You can see the texture was very thin. This was basically butter soup with some added potato. So my conclusion from this test is the taste of mashed potatoes improved up to somewhere between 50 and 75% butter. I'm going to say about 60%. From there, it's okay to add a little bit more, but there is a sharp dive in taste and texture quality after the 100% mark.
You know what they say, too much of a good thing is an awesome thing, but too much of an awesome thing is, really, really dumb and bad.
Obviously, 50 to 60% butter is a very indulgent amount, so I would only use as much on special occasions like Christmas or Thanksgiving, but when you're getting ready for those holidays, now you know how much butter to add to your potatoes. If you like this test, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.